Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel will testify before House lawmakers tomorrow. This will be interesting. This amid new reports that he was the one who made the final call on authorizing the prisoner swap of 5 high-ranking Taliban detainees in exchange for Bergdahl, who is being held in Afghanistan. Buck McKeon, chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, where Hagel will testify. He chairs that committee, and he is my guest now. How are you, sir? Twice in 1 week we have spoken now. And who made the call? Was it the commander-in-chief or was it Chuck Hagel?
I think when I first heard about it, I saw the president with the Bergdahls on television. I didn't see Secretary Hagel. It sounded like it was a presidential program all the way. Now that there's been a little pushback yesterday in our briefing, the briefers from the various departments were asked who made the final decision, and they said Secretary Hagel. So I hope they're not just pushing him out to be a fall guy for this. We'll get a chance to talk to him.
You've been around a long time. I mean, what would make sense as to why they would answer it that way?
I think there's been some negative feedback on this. I think people see now that they are learning a little bit more about the 5 terrorists that were released from Guantanamo, there's lots of concern. The little segment just before of what's happened in Iraq. We left Iraq with none of our troops left behind to make sure that kind of thing didn't happen. The plan is to be leaving troops behind in Afghanistan, but by giving them back these 5 real high-ranking leaders of the Taliban, they'll be freed from Qatar in a year and be able to enter the fight just as we are pulling out of it. And I think it puts the 9,800 troops of ours, the 5,000 from NATO, at greater risk than they would have been a couple of weeks ago.
Now, I think Secretary Kerry said that was baloney, to paraphrase his comment. Is that just baloney that these 5 could return to the battle?
I hope he's right, but we know that the recidivism, the detainees that have been released from Guantanamo, at least 30% of them that we know of have returned to the fight. Now, I would probably venture to guess that out of these 5, they'll probably be more like 100% returning to the fight. They're very high-ranking, very hardcore terrorists. One of them's already said, "Oh yeah, sure, I'm going back to Afghanistan. I'm back in the fight." So I would like to be assured that Secretary Kerry's right. I don't know what he's basing that on.
Indeed, especially for the people of Afghanistan. 10 days ago,
Right.
Meet the Press, Chuck Hagel. I signed off on the decision. The president made the ultimate decision. We did spend time looking at this. I guess as commander-in-chief, and you pointed out, they were in the Rose Garden together.
Yeah, I think people understand who made this decision. This goes right to the top, or maybe we don't know who's in charge of the White House. That's the thing that's almost as unsettling as thinking the president made the decision, and now they're saying Secretary Hagel made the decision. I think they're parsing words, worrying about who gets the blame if things really go bad.
Wow, that's interesting, and I'm certain you'll have some questions about this tomorrow. What do you need to know based on what we've been told or what we think we know so far?
Last year, we passed a law that because we've been concerned about their releasing these prisoners, these hardcore guys, out of Guantanamo, we passed a law that passed overwhelmingly 59-2 out of our committee, overwhelmingly passed on the floor, and then was signed into law by the president, that said the Congress should get a 30-day notice before any prisoners are released from Guantanamo. I didn't find out about this until I saw it on the news, and then later received a letter from the secretary. So they violated the law.
Yeah, he could give you an answer on that perhaps, but I'm reading that 80 or 90 people apparently within the administration knew about this. But does the law give you the authority to stop such a transfer, or does it give you just a heads up that it's about to happen before it does?
Just a notification. So he's still the commander-in-chief. He still can do what he wants. But in a briefing I had prior to the briefing yesterday, last week. They briefed some of our staff when I attended that briefing. They brought up the fact they were concerned about a leak, and a leak would jeopardize the whole thing and probably put Sergeant Bergdahl at more risk. And yet, as I tried to pin them down on how many people in the White House, in the State Department, in the Defense Department, Justice Department knew about this before it took place, they said, well, quite a few. And I said, 2? No, more than that. I said, 100? No, more than that. So somewhere they said between 2 and 100. Yesterday they said it's between 80 and 90. That's not good enough for me. I think if they don't know the name of every single person that knew about this, how could they, if a leak took place, if Sergeant Bergdahl had been killed, how would they go back and find out the leak if they just think it's between 80 and 90 people? And then the fact that they had more trust in those people than an elected member of Congress, it kind of blows your mind.
Understand the point you're making. We'll be watching for that hearing tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. A lot of questions out there that still need answers. Sir, thank you for your time. Buck McKeon from The Hill will be in contact with you in your office. Thanks. 20 past.
Thank you.